Okay. It's a great honor and a privilege to be with Shoshana Brayer. Shoshana, you wrote this book, your life, your story,
Right.
Childhood Lost.
Right.
Shoshana, can I ask, what made you decide to write the book? Why did you write the book?
Because I felt that I have a story that as people like it today, in 50 or in 100 years, they will like it even much more.
Mm-hmm.
They will appreciate. They will think about the Holocaust. It's right. But the people didn't go, like they say, like sheep to the slaughter house, you know. They were fighting.
Yeah,
And I was who not all survived, of course. And I was among the lucky ones who did survive. And I think I owe this for the people who did not survive.
And Shoshana, in your book, when you dedicated this book to your two sisters,
And a brother.
and your sister who Frida and her son Freddie,
Right.
and to your other sister Golda,
Nachon
and to Mordechai,
Nachon.
who unfortunately did not survive.
Yeah.
And I think you write something very profound in the book. You say we should always remember and never forget.
That's right. That's right.
And this book, Your Amazing Childhood Lost, is dedicated to their memories.
That's right. To their memory and of course to all the people who sacrificed their life.
Now, Shoshana, can I ask, when the war started in 1940, 1939, 1940, you were born in 1929?
28.
In 28?
Yeah.
So you were 12 years old in...
12, 13, yeah.
Yeah. And here's a picture of you at the age of 10, a very beautiful young girl at the age of 10.
Right, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your family?
About
Your family, your
my
parents?
family. We were a lot of children, 11 children. And my parents who came from Poland, I mean in Poland they didn't have much, you know, but even the little they had to live there, they couldn't come. But first came my father, and when he came back, because when my brother David was born, he came back to the Brit. So my father went to Bratislava, because they felt, and they were very right, they can't come with 5 children, you know. More better if he will come, and he will, people will know him. And they were very right, thinking that he will be very loved. He was a very fine person. I remember going with him in the rain. Why did I have to walk with him? Because later in 43, 44, he went to slaughter Offord, okay? Because people couldn't, how many people come to our house. It was, there were 2 detectives, whom I think I mentioned to you, the 2 detectives.
One with blonde hair and one with brown hair. The one with blonde hair and...
Yeah, a blonde, a one, and a K, and a dark guy.
But they were Slovakian.
They were Slovak, Goyim, detectives. Their job was to persecute the Jews as much as, you know. And they did it very, very faithfully, you know. I will tell you stories from them. Anyway, so what else did I say? What do you want?
So can I just ask, do you remember before the war?
Yeah, sure.
Did you grow up together in a
When we came to Bratislava, I don't remember, but later on, we got an apartment from the Kehillah, you
From
know.
the community?
Yeah, downstairs. There were 4 flights up. And downstairs there was a nice playground. And for us children it was just great. Because really when we came home, we didn't have any games, anything. We just went outside, running. You want to fix it?
No.
And running after another and having fun. This was our fun.
And you grew up happy. You had a happy childhood before the war.
Childhood, right. If we had a piece of bread, fine, was even better. And if not,
Did you experience any anti-Semitism, any anti-Jewish feeling before the war?
yeah, sure.
Before the war?
Sure, before. Maybe not our family, because the Germans and the Slovaks, they concentrated, but the more rich people like to come to Judengasse, where all the very poor Jews lived. They went to where they could gunmen and
They could steal and take property.
And make really problems. For us, any problem they tried to do was nothing,
So you mentioned in your book when your father came to Bratislava, his intention was really to come to Eretz Israel.
Right.
He wanted to come to Israel and he saw the wealth.
Yeah, right. Because at that time, you can read it in many books who wrote about a period of 30, 40, 1930, 1940, People, we saw it coming. The Jews was in shul, there was a lecture about, listen, we can see with our own eyes that anti-Semitism is going to break out with the biggest force.
And Shoshana, your brother Jack decided to go to England.
That's right. So my brother
And he
Jack,
left his chess set behind and you were the custodian of his chess set. His chess, he had a chess set.
Oh yes.
And you were the custodian of the chess set.
When he left, he said, I will be there. Not there, but I will be responsible. Yeah.
And your brother Eliezer, he took the very last boat that left Slovakia for Eretz Israel. For
the
Israel.
rest, there were 3 boats. He shouted to me in books. Because now what I can find out, the name of the books were written about those 3 boats. They were the last ones that Hitler gave permission to leave Slovakia. Yeah.
And your father was associated, and we're going to show a picture of your father and your mother, but this is a picture of your Abba, your father. And your father was Moshe. Your father was. He knew from the Khatam Sofer, the descendant, the Rav Sofer from the Khatam Sofer.
I don't know, from the family.
From the family.
Yeah.
And here's a picture of your dear mother.
Right.
Her name was Alka.
A woman who gave birth to 11 healthy, really healthy children.
A lovely lady, sure.
Yeah.
So Shoshana, you mentioned when the war broke out, your father was davening in the building below. There was, I think, a Rabbi Donat that had a minyan.
We lived in the house with Rabbi Donat.
And he went downstairs to daven and the Germans came in.
It was Rosh Hashanah. Even the religious people, that I don't know if it's a minhag or it's written somewhere, they don't sleep because it is a bad omen for the next of the year. You will be sleepy or you will
being judged. That's the day of judgment.
So what we had lunch after the davening. And I was helping, of course, my mother, and my father said he's going down to the basement. It was 1 flight down, below us, to the Beit HaMidrash to study. Usually he went to sleep. Shabbat and Chagim, after lunch, he took a nap. But this time Rosh Hashanah, you're not supposed to sleep. And he did not sleep. He went downstairs to the Beit HaMidrash, and there, after about, I remember, I was a very religious girl. My father liked me very much. We were two sisters, Chava and I. We were just exactly 1 year separate, you know. I mean, I don't know before. Ha'ikar, and she wasn't a very good girl for praying. We were two very, very different sisters. Of course, I must say my father preferred, I won't say he loved me, he loved Chava too, but he was...
He was very proud of you.
Yeah.
He was very proud of you.
So why did I say?
So your father went downstairs to
the Beit HaMidrash to study, and I was on our floor next to the entrance to our kitchen. Yeah, I was taking out the chair, sitting down, and learning, reading, I don't remember what. And then suddenly I hear, and I heard, you know, those heavy boots that Germans wore, you know. And I look down and I see 3 soldiers going into the Beit HaMidrash, the study room of Rabbi Donat, that lived 1 flight below us. Not exactly below us, we lived here and he lived here, but on the same, but no, here they were 1 floor below us. And I heard those heavy boots. And I was in such a shock, it took me, I think, a few minutes to realize, to run in and tell my mother what happened, what I saw, you know. And she comes out right away, we wake up, the children, David and Simcha, were sleeping or resting. And I tell her what I saw. Some German soldiers in their heavy boots, you know, going to the Beit HaMidrash. Right away she sent us children to people who could help, you know, who were familiar with the heading, you know. And they say they came, they didn't come into the house, but opposite, you know. They could see them, the Germans, you know. And right away, my mother came and he sent my older brother, David, to a person who, whenever we had any problems or from the Germans, it came to the Jüdische Gemeinde, you know. So my mother, and they knew us, and my mother sent my brother, I think, Ossi, said and tell them the story what we saw, you know, that came, I think it were only 2 soldiers, maybe 3, and they are still there. We hear them throwing books, you know, from the
bookshelves.
From the shelf, yeah. And he said, go home, and he right away connected, you know, other people, and we could see across the street, all the windows were full of people to see, maybe you can see, you know. And by the time somebody came and told them, what are you doing here, and so, but, you know, everyone was afraid to talk to the Germans. They were so wild, so they just, when they didn't like what you told them, he just took out his gun and shot him.
Wow.
That's what a Jew meant to them. But some people came who knew those Germans, I think, and they tried to negotiate, but I don't know. No, they didn't want money, they just to make to show their power. They can do whatever they want.
And you mention in the book that they took your father, they made him put on a talus,
Right.
and
right.
they took him to the street and they cut off half the
one
beard.
side of his beard, right.
And you had to see
make,
this.
Yeah, and to make fun of him, you know. Everybody, and he marched him on the street. Everybody should see how a Jew have a beard, you know, how he looks. One side is a beard, but the other side is nothing.
It must have been very difficult for you to observe this, to see your very humiliating, very.
Until then, you know, we saw the anti-Semitism here and there, you know, we could somehow swallow it, you know. But after that time, the real anti-Semitism came out, you know, and it was very, very hard.
And then I want to mention, just going on from here, Shoshana, it's very hard. In the book, you mentioned that you found a job sewing with a lady that.
Yeah, because
there was no school and you were only 12 years old.
The schools were shut closed, you know. So my mother said, what should you just roam around with nothing? You will learn, maybe go to work, you know, at extreme stress, and you will have a mixed hour,
trade.
So that's what I did every day. I would go to this place, to this Jewish woman.
And there were about 20 girls that were also, they was helping her and sewing.
Somewhat.
There were quite a few girls. They were also there helping in a room sewing. And then one day you mention in your book a most very sad story that you came one morning and you saw that it was empty.
This was a week. There is today a list of 1,000 girls. I had also a sister, but she was a little older and she knew already sewing. So people, cheaper, more poor people, they didn't go to where it cost a lot of money. They came to my sister. She saw them, you know, for their children and they had daughters. That was, this was on a Monday morning. Sunday afternoon, there came 2 or 3 from Gestapo, one Gestapo, one from the Linka Guard. The Linka Guard was just like the Slovakish, you know, of the Gestapo. Okay, you have a daughter, Golda Singer. Yes, she's home. Okay, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, she should be at a certain place. And that's what they did to all the girls in Bratislava. Today, there is a list of 1,000 girls, because 2 weeks later, it was the turn of the boys to come tomorrow morning to a certain place.
And your parents believed them? They
believe you had no choice. You don't start up with the Germans.
And that was the last time Golda was taken, and you heard many years later that she died in Auschwitz.
Right. I mean, she didn't come back. So we knew that, and we knew most of them died, you know. But one of the girls, then I went on Aliyah to Israel, and in our group there was an elderly girl, a few years older than me, and she was telling us all that we wanted to hear. How did we know what Terezin is? Not Terezin, Auschwitz. We used to get letters once a month, let's say, from my daughter, from Golda.
From Golda.
And she would write, everything is okay, we have enough food, and we are working, but this was the order from the Germans, you should write. What they didn't tell us, and some girls did write, then how is Aunt Sarah? I wish I could go to visit her. When this Aunt Sarah died just 2 months earlier.
So the family knew, they knew that it was,
of course,
she was forced to write.
Of course. And all stories like this, you know. And then little by little, we came to know, this was a story, Rav, from Rav, I will tell you in a minute his name. He was the head, but my two brothers, Simcha
So they were at Nitra.
in Nitra.
In Yeshivat Nitra was Rav Weissmandel. Weissmandel.
Weissmandel.
Your brother Simcha and David. They were studying in Nitra.
Yeah, see, you know it better.
No, it's the most amazing story that you tell in your book. That it was just before Shabbos. And
so they came to the bed right an hour before Shabbos. Usually Friday afternoon, the boys had free. They could clean their room, do some hand wash, you know, some laundry. So an hour before Shabbos and started, there came a room, not a room, some boys were sent to each room, you know, tell the boys we go home, we won't be here Shabbat. They didn't say what for, but we understood that there's something very bad happening.
And I think Rav Weissmandel, he spoke to the boys. And he was
not
crying.
supposed to give them, to tell them too much. You are staying here, you are not going home. So Simcha is my younger brother. He met David. He ran to, because they were aged, you know, in different rooms. And said, Simcha, you go home because the parents will be worried. And I will stay here. But Simcha didn't want, so David was waiting for the train to come, and he came into Bratislava in the middle of the night. Now, I will tell you a very interesting story you should put in. Simcha, before it got dark on this Friday afternoon, he said, you must find a place to hide. The yeshiva was supposed to be empty. All the rooms from the guys also empty. The Germans will come and look, you know. So he had an idea. Yeah, and so he went to the outside of the yeshiva, that was the Beit HaMidrash, the people who lived outside in Nitra, down there, you know. And he went there. I didn't know what he was looking, but suddenly he heard one Jew tells the other, his wife died. She got up when they told her that her son or two sons are been taken, you know.
To burial.
The Germans,
to bury.
she just dropped dead. And he looks for somebody who can take her in the, you know, they had a wagon, a little, and to take her to the cemetery, to be almost the Shabbos, you know. And Simcha was there, and Simcha said, I can take her. They put her in Agala, covered her well, and because...
Like a wagon.
Yeah, it was all Germans around the village, around Nitra. And he had a guy who will take it. Yeah, he had a guy who will take it to the outside, to the cemetery. Okay. Before he just left to the cemetery, Simcha appeared and said, "Listen, do me a favor. I will go in here, you know, near the dead."
Inside the...
And, yeah?
Like the coffin inside?
Yeah, in the coffin.
And that's what saved him?
And he said, listen, people were ready to help each other, right? They said, you know, because the Nitra, it was a very famous, big yeshiva there. The Nitra yeshiva was almost among the very best.
And Glassman was a very big Talmid Chacham, yeah?
Right. And my father would send his sons just to any yeshiva, you know. So what did I want to say? Yeah. So he went where there was a little, you know, where the Germans watched anybody who went in or out, you know, from outside. So this man brought his, I don't know what, his wife or his father, or mother, I don't know. She was in this bicycle, you know, that was made up to carry, you know, dead, you know. And the Germans said, okay, you can go ahead, you know, to the cemetery. So the Germans shouldn't see. There was this other guy whom this man had already hired, you know. Simcha told the guy, listen, I will pay you. I want to get out of it. And the Germans didn't let anybody go out from Nitra. Simcha, the Germans shouldn't see, up into the, near the bed, he hugged the dead. And that's how he took him outside of town.
It's similar to with Yochanan ben Zakkai. It's a story also where you went in,
yeah.
But your brother was very courageous. Shoshana, very courageous, and he was younger than Simcha was younger than you.
If you will wait and you will hear more from Simcha. David was a quiet boy, a big learner. David. Simcha didn't like to learn, but he was very practical and very smart in other things. If he needs something to repair or an idea, you know, she would go to Simcha, to Ossi. If she wanted to know where this and this is really, she would go to David. Yeah.
But Shoshana, you were also very courageous.
When we all had to be.
But you went to visit, you write it so beautifully in your book, you went to visit a friend also near the cemetery, and you were walking and it was a bit dangerous, and then some non-Jews came up to you and they wanted to beat you up. And one had a knife, and you managed to get the knife, and...
Yeah, Rega, I forgot, that's right. The cemetery was right outside of the town, right? And who lived outside on the cheap place? The Goyim. I had a friend, she was sick. She was very much absent from school. She had something with her lung, you know. Every year, they took her to the hospital in the Tatra Mountains, which was specially made for those sick people. And I was very friendly with her. And I mean, what was I friendly with her? I would always write the homework, you know, and help her to know and to learn, you know, with her. Can you open the door? I need some more air.
And if you can continue your beautiful, it's so interesting to hear what you're saying. You wanted to go visit your friend.
Open it completely, very good. I needed some fresh air.
And you're feeling okay? Shoshana, you feeling okay? You feeling fine?
Can I call you some?
No, it's all good. Can I give you a...
No.
So you went to visit your friend?
I used to go once or twice a week to visit her and give her the homework and show her gladly what we learned and such things.
But you had to pass a dangerous...
Yeah, so I knew at one place on one of the streets, just before the cemetery, there lived this guy who was a terrible anti-Semite. Just whenever, there was they had to bury somebody, so they had no choice but to walk on this street. He would throw stones at the Jews and all those things. So it happened whenever I came near to this place. I was watching out, he shouldn't see me. There's one time when I was already close past his home where I live, here he comes and sees me and starts looking for stones and throwing it at me. I got so angry at one time. I was always very angry. I said, I must show this guy. I stopped. And before he realized, I was at him. And I will show him, if you ever again start up with me, I will kill you.
Sure.
He was so shocked, It took him a while to get up, but by that time I was already near the cemetery. But of course, since then, I had to take a longer way, when I went to the cemetery.
And Shoshana, can I ask you, when people realized that it was becoming very dangerous, they already started with the deportations. I think you heard that they were deporting the Yidden. They had the mass deportations where they rounded up the Yidden and you had to go in the ghetto, and then they took a lot of the Jews they sent to the camps. And
to the camps.
And in your family, you found out that there was a cellar, 2 cellars in the shul, in the synagogue, and that's where you decided you were going to hide.
Oh, yeah, this was a different time. We were always ready that something bad must happen,
I think already they'd taken 40,000 Yidden and they deported them to, most went to Auschwitz. And
that's right.
But your family had the insight and had so courageous that they had to hide.
But everybody, it wasn't so easy to hide.
Yeah.
First of all, the Goyim got smart and they asked a lot of money. And if you didn't have the money, but so we did find somebody where we can hide, but it came, they were smart, and they never said anything. In the beginning, they already published in town, in Bratislava, that on Tuesday, or maybe in the newspaper, only by mouth, a transport will be sent to there was a camp.
Sered?
Sered, right.
It was a transit camp. Sure. But your family decided to go into the cell of the shul. There were 2 cellars.
Yeah, okay.
Do you remember the cellars?
Sure. But the cellars, nobody, not many people cared for. They wanted to go there because sometimes, they would go around, those Germans, and when they saw somebody who goes in this entrance, they knew that he's going to the cellar, So he followed this guy, and that's how they found out our hiding place.
And your parents, I think they sent you to a Steiner family, Steiner?
What was the hiding places? A cellar. Or what shall I say? It was not pleasant to be there, man and woman, everything together,
And it's underneath, and you had to go out to get food. It wasn't easy.
I remember at that time, this was maybe, so we were a lot of children at one time, among them, as times the Jews were still sent through the Seret, through the camp. Other times I just took them to the train, filled up the train and sent them to Auschwitz. And on this time, I remember my father, we were hiding in the big shul, in the big synagogue. There were 2 rooms on the bottom, one for cold and one for the winter to prepare. At that time, they didn't prepare. Oh, it was half empty. So one room was for the men, one room was for the woman. And this was my father. Usually the Germans didn't tell you in advance what their plans are. But at that time, they wanted to send the orphans some time before, but the Jews, as much as they could, hold them back from sending children who had no parents, Yes, I remember.
And
the head of the children's place there was a very good friend of my father. He was a very special man, and he treated the children, the orphans, so wonderful, Then we found out that in this transport, the Germans promised not to send the orphans to Auschwitz. They promised it. Because we had 2-3 people who almost every day met with the Germans, and they got the new, would you like a drink?
No.
Oh, no. So my father was a very good friend of the head of the orphanage, of the boys' orphanage, asked this man if he can just forward there that night to bring my brother.
This was Mordechai.
Mordechai. He was a sickly boy, a little. And he said, the next day we will take him home. And he said yes. He was a very good friend of my father. He was a very special man. In the morning, somebody brought us a bottle of milk, And the my father went out from the room that we slept in, And he found out that night the Germans picked up the orphans. And I knew why my father went out, And I went after him, and I never saw my father cry like that. This man told him that night the Germans took the whole orphanage. never forget that.
And all the children were taken to Auschwitz.
I will never forget that night.
This must have been too terrible for the whole family.
Of course. And they didn't know what to do. There was nothing you could do. Yeah. I will never forget.
Shoshana, it's difficult. But Shoshana, your sister, she managed to also find a hiding place. Frida found a hiding place and for her younger son, and she was going to stay there as well. And
They were supposed to come next morning, and that night the Germans picked up this neighborhood, you know, where she lived.
but she had left her Menachem.
Menachem.
He was left in, and she was supposed to come the next morning. And her and her son
Freddie.
and they were also taken away.
But they didn't find anybody. So she was picked up and with her husband and Freddie and Menachem, they're 1.5 or 2 years old. They found a place to hide. My daughter and her husband were also supposed to get there, but it was, I think, Friday. They wanted to go over the need for Shabbat. So they were saved. No, they were not saved.
Menachem was saved. Menachem, thank God he was.
Yeah, but we didn't think to bring him to this woman just for one night. They were supposed to be there. The whole family, you know. My sister and her husband and the 2 little boys.
They were going to come the next day. But they were picked up.
No, also stay there.
Also stay there.
Sure.
It's so sad. And Frida and it's so sad what happened with Frida and with it's Shoshana, it's very hard, and you've dedicated your book to in her memory.
Yeah.
To her,
Frida
and
Golda
and his son and Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were sent away. Now, Shoshana, and this is a picture of her son. This is Menachem.
You don't have to tell me.
He's a very cute.
What a beautiful
And
boy.
you had a very close connection with Menachem. And you always would go, and the woman that was looking after him, she wanted to have money.
Sure.
And you had to find the money to pay her. So what you went through and how you battled to, and your brother would try and get the money and you'd go try visit, and it was very difficult.
Very difficult.
Do you remember staying with the family Steiner?
With the family.
Steiner.
With the Steiner family.
She was a very beautiful lady, and they had a daughter.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the family?
While we were in the camp, first we thought it would be a matter of 2-3 days, but it became longer and longer. And to be in those cellars was terrible. No air, you know, and sleeping on the floor, and it was terrible, very hard. So they found families who got from the Germans permission to stay, you know? And the Steiner family was very, very honored family, you know. They had 5 big stores in each metropolitan. In Vienna, there was the Steiner, big, huge, with any book in the world. you could find there. They were in Paris, in Vienna, in London. 5 stores where there's some famous Steiner.
There was even a Steiner bookshop in Yerushalayim.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was connected, but there was, it was a very well-known bookshop in Yerushalayim.
Right. Listen, I don't remember every detail.
But they took you in and they were very good to you.
Yeah, very nice. One of the Steiners, you know. She was a very beautiful lady. They had this one daughter. And the daughter, they sent the daughter across the street. There lived also one of the Steiner brothers, but they get permission to stay there. They were sure they will not be deported. And I was with this family, and as I was there, I think it was Shabbat morning, we could see how the Germans came. It was something, their apartment was here, like you can see the next window, you know. And we saw how the Germans came into another brother. There were 5 brothers, the Steiners. I was very friendly with Ziggy. One day Ziggy's mother comes to me, she was in our house, lived, you know. Because this was before the transport to Auschwitz. The Germans, what was it? Yeah, they declared no Jews was allowed to live in the center of town. Only in the, you know, poor family, poor center, you know. So they came to live in our house, I remember. And my mother, she didn't make fun, but my mother she got married, she had children, 10 children, and the lunch was ready at time. There was very little food, but something. And this lady, Steiner, Ziggy's mother, we had much fun. Ziggy was telling his father, before this times, you know, they had a daughter and Ziggy. Ziggy was the son. I don't remember the name of the girls. Very beautiful daughter. And people came to speak and to want to see their daughter, you know, for shidduch and so. And Mr. Steiner, if the gentleman didn't like her so much, he would say, no, she's not available now. A Jewish girl doesn't leave the house before she's married. And we had this funny thing, because when the Germans came, they picked up their daughter. They had 2 children, their daughter and Ziggy. Ziggy was a very good friend of ours. So they came, they were very rich. They lived in the center of town. So they had to live like old Jews, this nice apartment, in the Jewish quarter. So they found a house in our house. So we became friendly, you know. And she wanted Ziggy to learn English. He didn't want to. So she said, so when we met, we just talked, you know. And I knew a little English because I was very eager to study, you know, to read a lot and to study. So the mother of Ziggy, Mrs. Steiner, she had the idea. And one day she asked me if I would learn English. I said yes, I was very eager, you know, to learn any languages, whatever I could. I read a lot. So she told Ziggy, Shoshana came to me to ask if I can teach her English. And I said yes, I would. But I said it's a good chance for you to join, so you will be two, yeah. So, but the father would say that no, a Jewish girl, before she's married, she does never leave the house, only after she gets married. And Ziggy, but when they took all the girls, of course they took their daughter too. And Ziggy every day would say, not every day, but whenever he had a chance, Abba, why didn't you tell the Germans that the Jewish girl doesn't leave the house?
Sure.
When they sent them to Auschwitz, you didn't say a word. Their daughter was sent with when my daughter, when my sister. Of course, she never came back.
Hey, and Shoshana, can I ask, when you look back and you see, even near the end, in 44, coming to the end of the war, in 44, it was Pesach time, and I think you had Pesach at home, and then very soon afterwards your father, he found difficulty in breathing, and
yeah, he died.
He died.
Yeah. But, I said that a few times. In my heart, didn't say it out loud, but in my heart I was very happy. At least I knew where my father has is buried.
He's got a kibbutz, he's got a...
Yeah. I was happy that he died here, not in the camps.
And he didn't have to suffer more.
Of course.
Yeah. And then I think your brother took over, and he helped
My brother took over, but times were very bad, very, very difficult.
Now, I think you write, what you've written in your book, it is unbelievable how you describe it. It's as if you're living it. It's really so special. But Shoshana, your family knew a shoemaker.
Yeah.
He was a close friend of the family, a shoemaker.
I knew a non-Jew who helped us a lot. Sure, he helped us a lot. He told us, And one of but he told my mother that you Jews, if you will need a place to hide, my home is always empty for you.
And Shoshana, can I just mention at this point, you also mentioned something very beautiful, that there was the Minister of Education, I think, Spivak, who was also very good to he was a righteous Gentile. He warned the Jews and he saved them.
But they were afraid to be nice to them because the Germans would write to them.
But he was a member of the parliament and he was very good to the Jews. He warned that.
Yeah. But nobody was supposed, if the Germans would know it, then he's sent away,
And this shoemaker, do you remember his name?
Yeah, I think I have it.
You have it in the book, but you actually went to stay with him, with the parents in their home, and your mother was supposed to stay as well, and they went back to the bunker.
That's right, because it was a few days that they said that the Jews will be picked up again.
His name is Stepanakis. I don't know if I'm... Stepanakis. Stepanakis. But they were very good and they allowed you to stay in the home, and your mother was staying in the home as well, but she wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And that's when I think you spent time in their home, and when you went back to the bunker, can you tell us what happened that night? When your mother was in the bunker with the children, when the Germans came, and I think it was on a Erev Shabbos, and she was lighting the candles.
Friday night, my mother was lighting candles, and she put, and there was a little, I think Simcha, made it, you know, that you can put in 2 candles and light them, you know, in the cellar. And that's what happened Friday night. And an hour after she lit the candles, there was this knock on the door like we knew, you know, the Germans would knock, you know. My mother really wanted to blow out the candles. No, Simcha wanted to blow out the candles. And my mama said, Simcha, no, we'll never blow out candles. And that's how they were called.
That's how they were called. And then they were sent to Sered, to the camp.
Sered.
And you came back the next day and they couldn't believe that you weren't caught as well.
Right. They were hiding in the house, you know. They were afraid the Germans may punish them or something. Right.
But Shoshana, I must mention, you were very courageous because you felt you wanted to go see Menachem and you had to pay the lady that was looking after him. And you were also caught and you were sent to, it was like the Slovakian prison.
Right, but my mazal was that there was new snow. Where they took me, the Germans had a big villa they took away from the Jews, you know, and they made it when they caught single people, you know. And they have sent them to Sered, you know, and when they caught me, I had my handbag, and you know, like when you have a birth certificate, a few details were written by hand when they would go on, you know.
Documents.
Yeah, document, yeah. And I knew I had this. They will ask me where I got this from. If I will tell them, they will never believe that I found it. I went, you know. So I was lucky. The 2 Germans who were in the Berlast, I had a few, and I made slower my walking. When they turned, you know, to the next house, the next corner, I very fast took it and threw it in the snow. This was my biggest luck.
Because you were worried they were going to find out who gave it to you.
Yeah, right.
And you remember when they took you into the interrogation and they treated you very badly? Oh, that must have been so difficult. You were so young at that time. You were still a teenager.
Yeah. So when I knew my friend in our house lived the great Reichenberg. We went to the same class, but they were not religious. And in the afternoon, when we met to do the homework, she would eat milk, but I was waiting 6 hours, you know. And a samaya tali, you know, to eat a piece of bread with
And you must have been very hungry as well.
Yeah, hungry, mele. I looked, you know, oh, if I could have, so I knew that there was a guy, his parents were taken away, he was not home, and I don't know where he lived with the Goyish family, and she was telling me, when you come next time, I will have to go, I want you to meet this boy. He was a Jewish, although their mother was not Jewish, but he was a Jewish guy, very nice, had a good sense of humor. So I felt I must go somewhere when my family was taken. I didn't know where to go, where will I sleep tonight? And I went to Grete in our house, and I knew about this guy, you know, who came to the he was living in a bunker somewhere. But what I want to tell you is that he said, come. It was late, you know. My family was taken. And I didn't have where to go. I went to Grete in our house where she was, you know, hiding there. And she said, Shoshana, you know, soon this boy will come to visit them. And when he left, she said, Shoshana, go together, you know. He will escort you to where you live. On the way, as we walked on the street, I will never forget it. He says to me, Shoshi, quietly, you know, touch my hair, touch my bare hand. There was a pocket, you know. Yeah, but I touch all my pockets. I touch here, there's a revolver.
He had a revolver?
In each pocket he had a revolver.
Unbelievable. Sure. And you remember it? Wow. That's incredible. Sure. Sure. But
this is not the end, because on one of the times that I was still there, it was Shabbat morning, we didn't go out to work. They asked me to wipe the dust in this special room. They didn't have every Shabbat, you know, meetings. So they said, okay, go to this room, the dust around there, the Aaron Sfarim, and the table and everything. And as I was doing that, Sabib there, Shulchan, were sitting something 4 or 6 people from
around the table. They were sitting around the table.
Yeah, I remember it now. And here how they were discussing, you know, in the afternoon. They will go out. They knew about the street where he lived. And they will put their hands on him. And I am cleaning here, wiping the dust. And I felt like my blood is going in my face, you know. They soon realize that they talk about somebody whom I know.
And Shoshana, from being in the prison, you were then sent to Sered. And you remember meeting your mother and your do you remember going to Sered?
To Syria?
To Sered, to the transit camp, to Sered. Where
to Sered.
Do you remember
Sered.
they sent you now to Sered?
Sered.
Yeah, and you saw the laundry. You went to see where the laundry was, and you saw your mother and your family. And they were happy, but they weren't. They were happy that you were there and you were alive, but now you were in another type of camp. And it was also dangerous because from Sered they sent many times to Auschwitz as well.
That was the time they couldn't send to Auschwitz, so that's when they sent us to
Terezin. To Terezin. Terezin. But before we go there, can I just ask you, you mentioned something which is so hard to believe, that you were standing in the middle of the road, in the street, and the officer, a German officer, on a horse, and people shouted at you to leave. Can you tell what happened? Do you remember what happened?
Sure. It was a big place, you know, where they camped every morning. They had to just go out and see that nobody's missing, you know. So I didn't know. This was the first day that I'm there. I mean, the next night I was sleeping, you know, and in the morning I got up with all the other people, and I knew they're going outside. Where they go, when I asked somebody, people didn't want to talk anything, you know, no information, nothing, you know. So I didn't know exactly where to go. And I see they're running to the one side. There was a huge, maybe 100 people there. with children, and they were not hiding, and I make sure they are in a certain place, you know. And I didn't know what that meant. And I look around, and the people I saw there on the one side full of Jews, maybe 100 Jews there. And here it was a road, a big road, where later I learned this road you go to the train. And they called her, Yalda, Yalla, they didn't know my name, Yalda, little girl, hide, run somewhere to hide. But then I stopped, I didn't know where to go. And I look at the head of the row of the Jews, you know. There was a German soldier on a horse. This was a daily exercise or, you know, sport. Running on the horse from one egg to the camp to the other, you know. And whoever was on the way, he would just over you.
You just drive right over.
Yeah.
It was probably, you were killed when it was. And you managed to, thank God.
I managed, I don't know how, but I managed to cross.
And Shoshana, when you came to Sered and you saw your mother and your brothers, you must have been very relieved that they were still alive, Baruch Hashem. And
yeah, relieved. They are still alive. I don't know how. I was happy to see them. I thought I will never see them again.
And then from there you were then taken on a train and you didn't know where you were going and you landed up in Terezin.
What's that?
From Sered, you were taken on a train.
Yeah, sure.
And then they transported you, thank God not to Auschwitz, but they sent you to, today it's known as Theresienstadt, but to Terezin.
No, to Terezin we went by train.
By train, yeah.
Yeah, but what they took us from this camp in Sered was just to the railroad station. Mm-hmm. You know where we went on the train, and the train took us to Terezin.
And you had learnt in school about Terezin? Yeah,
because I learned that Masaryk was a very good president, very good to the Jews also. He knew he saw the Jews, they don't do anything wrong to anybody. They study Gemara, so what do you care if you don't understand? Study what you want, you know. He was a very, very special. We had a few years with him. Lucky, very lucky years.
He even came here, he came to Yerushalayim.
Yeah. He was a
and he met with Rav Sonnenfeld. He was a very well-liked and very well-respected.
In the whole world. Very liked. He was a humane, you know.
And he built Terezin.
He built Terezin, right. Masaryk built Terezin, that's right.
Sure.
But not for the Jews. He built it for his citizens. If you're not happy where you are, go to this camp. You get the nice apartment, you know, and stores, and movie, everything for free, you know, just to make the people happy. That's what the man he was, Masaryk. There was never before him or after him something like that.
Shoshana, your time in Terezin, it was much better than Sered or...
But Terezin was a place where the Germans put the people before he sent them to the out to be killed.
They brought the Red Cross to show.
Yeah. So nobody wanted to get to Terezin. But after the war, when we lived there a few months.
It was near the end of the war.
Sure.
And Shoshana, you mentioned that you had a terrible toothache.
Oh.
A terrible toothache. Can you remember the story with the toothache?
It was terrible. Because when somebody wanted to find out about this, there was an office where you could get all the information. So I went there, and they told me there is a dentistry. It is made, but only for the Germans. But
it was Dr. Diamond.
Yeah, right.
Diamond.
Wow.
He was a Yiddisher, I think. He was
a Jew. Yeah. He was very happy to be there, otherwise he would have been already sent to Auschwitz. And he was there with his mother, his wife, and 2 children, a son and a daughter. So they lived in a place like this, and my mother and 4 children had a room next door. That was a whole apartment.
But he treated you, I think, between lunchtime, in the lunchtime when they...
So he told me, I asked him, his orders were, it was only open for the German soldiers. But if you have a very bad case, your tooth can be taken out. Yeah. So as I told him, he said, Shoshana, you come between 12 and 1, when the Germans are going to have lunch. Then come to me, and I will see at the tooth what I can do. And I came to him, and he tells me, Shoshana, I can do anything. I must have. No, he thought he can work on it and save it somehow. But then he saw that I have to come more than 1 time. So I came a few times, and he said, no, he had to do something that she didn't have, a tool, I think, that he didn't have. And Shoshana, one thing I can do for you to exact the tools. But I was already home, happy. Because I suffered a lot from this.
And then after that, it was, but then you say he passed away, he died from typhus very soon after that.
Yeah, right.
So he saved your life in a way. He saved your life because with that toothache, it wasn't treated.
Oh my.
And sure, very soon after that, he passed away.
When we came home, the first thing I went to was the dentist,
And Shoshana, do you remember, this was near the end of the war, when the liberation came, when the Russians entered the camp?
Sure.
What do you remember of that time?
A day or 2 even before that, we would hear totachim, the big, what's that called? Ammunition.
Like blasts?
Yeah, the war, you shoot and you have
There's artillery, there's bombs.
Like totachim. What you use in the war, from far away you can shoot.
Waters are going.
Yeah, all kind of things, yes. We heard that, so this was far away, because I think we were, if I'm not mistaken, 40 kilometers from Prague.
Yeah.
And we heard already, especially at night, shooting and we didn't know exactly when they will come to if it will be soon or not so soon, until one morning. I'm telling you, in 1 hour, the Theresienstadt, it was a big place with thousands of people there, was full of red flags.
Wow. This is when the Russian army liberated the camp.
Yeah. You never saw a red flag in about 5 minutes after, when they were free to enter, to liberate the camp, all the windows had the red flags.
And how did it feel knowing after all these terrible years and all the suffering that you're now free?
It was very bad because the Germans ran away. There was nobody there to keep a kitchen. There were 2,000 people there. The Germans at least fed us somehow, you know. Nothing, no food. We got I remember we got the soup. There was some red pieces. We ate it. Because it was the only thing for lunch. Later we found out it was horse meat. And the horses that were killed, you know. But we had nothing else. My brother, he didn't touch the meat. My mother said, children, do what you like. The main thing I want you to see healthy.
But halakhically you're allowed to. Is that
yeah, I know.
It's a
yeah, that's what he told us. He will never eat. Wow. For him, he said he will have a tiny piece of bread just to keep his soul going.
But Shoshana, I want to mention, when you were at the shoemaker and the wife made a meal, you write so beautifully in your book, and it was pork, and she said, have some, and you said, I've never eaten it, and you were hungry and you didn't have it. So you also, it's an amazing thing what you did.
As much as I could, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And then from Theresen, you then went on a train and you went home with your mother, and your brother was there to welcome you.
We had an apartment. I told you the Czechs put up little homes for families with 1, 2 children, you know. There was a bathroom.
And you remember coming back to Bratislava?
Also.
And your brother meeting you at the train station? Okay. When you came to Bratislava, your brother was there? Simcha was there to meet you?
Just a minute. When we went back to Bratislava, one of the very well-known workers for the Jewish community somehow, the Jüdische Gemeinde was it called, you know. Like the Germans didn't come to the Jews, tell them what the new law is. They brought it to the Jüdische Gemeinde. You took care this should be fulfilled. And like we have to go with the star. You make sure you are responsible. So, for the Germans, there was a delivery every morning with milk, you know. The Czech knew they closed their stores. They had nothing but to sell because the Germans took away everything.
Wow. And how long did you stay in Bratislava after the war?
I would say half a year, a few months.
And you felt you had lost, like you write in your book,
but we were
childhood lost.
Yeah.
You had no schooling, and you wanted to.
No schooling.
And now it was communist. It was communistic.
Yes, okay, but it was all mishmash, you know.
Yeah.
The Czechs couldn't do anything. The Germans wouldn't let them, you know. And the Germans didn't bring anything. Once a week, if you heard that there came in milk, you know, you were running like crazy to get a little jar of milk, you know. Or when something came into the store, in 5 minutes, everybody knew it. Because people were shouting from one window to another, go to that place, they're giving out cheese. A piece of cheese, you know. But you run to get it, you know.
But Shoshana, you always had a desire to come to Eretz Israel, to come to Israel. And then you decided that you wanted to fulfill the dream that your father wanted, to come to live in the land of Israel.
Yes, but my father died.
I know. But you, when you were back after the war and you were in Bratislava, you decided that you want to come back.
I was right away. No, after a few months, excuse me, the Zionistic,
it's like a youth movement.
Several, they, like the Agudat Israel, so this was with the religious Jews. Bnei Akiva, right. And from the Mizrahi movement, and other non-religious about the Jewish, Yeah, this opened up. But I wanted to be in a religious group, so I went to Bnei Akiva.
And you were determined to come to.
Sure.
It was under the British were ruling Palestine. It was under the mandate, and they had the white paper still, and they wouldn't allow. They only allowed 1,500 immigrants to come in every month. It was nothing. The British were ruling Eretz Israel. They were ruling British Palestine.
Yeah.
And it was illegal to come. But you were determined to come.
I was determined to come. They were illegal at night. Didn't you? There are books written about it.
The illegal, Tim. They were.
Yeah.
And you joined the group.
I came. Yeah, okay. I joined such a group, and we were caught.
But before you were caught, Shoshana, can I just mention, you did a very courageous thing, something that very few people would do. You insisted on taking Menachem with you to Eretz Israel.
Not my sister.
No, Menachem.
Menachem, yeah.
You insisted on taking, and he was only 3 years old, I think, at the time.
4 years.
4. And you insisted on taking him with you. And when they said to you, we can't take, and you said, just because he survived the war, must he be punished that he can't go? And then they couldn't, and then you were determined to take him with you.
And I did.
And you did. It's most people would only think of themselves.
It was organized. I didn't go to buy a ticket and go to Berlin. Bnei Akiva, the group that I belonged to, they decided there were people, there were Jews, were right after the war. They were coming back from hiding places, So there were, I don't know, maybe 200 families in Bratislava. And everybody, and all them, not only I belong to Bnei Akiva, the religious group. There was Agudat Israel, even more religious, And there were the non-religious.
Yeah.
So I told my mother, she wasn't very happy. I told her once that we were talking about the Aliyah to Eretz Israel. And I said to myself, how can I leave my mother, who went through these camps and everything, with Menachem? Menachem was, 2 years old. My little brother was, I think, 4 years old. And my 2 older brothers and Chava, my sister. How can I leave her, So I said, then I got the idea, take Menachem, it should be a big help for my mother, And that's what I did.
And
I must say, I was a very courageous person.
That is, and Shoshana, I want to mention, most people, having gone through what you went through, would think of trying to save themselves. By taking Menachem, they didn't, it was a very courageous and a very difficult decision to make.
It was.
But it's incredible what you did. It really is amazing.
I'm going to show you the picture.
I've got, so here is Menachem. We have the picture of Menachem. And this is
Let me see. Where is Menachem? Oh, yeah. Isn't he cutie?
Such a cutie. Here's a picture of Menachem.
Yeah.
And you went with the
This
youth.
was in France.
So you went first to France.
I didn't go myself. It was organized in
I know.
Bratislava.
And you went with a group.
Yeah, with a group. And my mother, when I told her that I'm going to this religious group, she was happy. Okay. When I told her we take Menachem, she wasn't happy first, but then I explained to her how it would be very good for her and for Menachem to come to Israel.
I'll just show here's
She
Menachem.
She knew that she can trust me. I was a very responsible person, you know. Although I was still young, very responsible.
And you spent a bit of time in France, and you were in different places with the youth movement, and they took you from one place to another.
Yeah.
You were in Marseille.
Right.
And do you remember the boat?
The boat.
You could have gone on an illegal boat, but because it was illegal, they didn't want you to take Menachem with as well.
They wanted me to leave Menachem until they will have a better opportunity. And I said, I promised my mother, or not promised, I don't remember how I word it, you know, I will take Menachem. I will not leave him from my hand before we come to Eretz Israel.
And that's what you did, and you could have saved yourself and gone
with a group.
With a group. But then you saw, can I just mention, Shoshana, because it is incredible this. You saw they took you to a boat, there was a liner that was going, a proper ship. And this ship was going to Alexandria and I think to Corsica and to Alexandria.
I didn't know about Corsica. I didn't know about Alexandria, but I knew that the last station will be in Israel.
And it was Haifa.
No,
and you never had a passport, you never had a ticket?
Nothing.
You never had for you or for Menachem?
Nothing.
And tell us what happened with the girls. You saw a whole group of children going up to the ship on the path?
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, this is not like this. On this boat, I don't know how I found out, or I met him when I was on the boat before we left. A guy who came to our house, I don't remember what for, he was not a religious guy. They had, I don't know how I met him. He was older than me, about 5-6 years older, and yeah, he also mentioned to me that he is going, but he was not a member. He bought a ticket and he went on the boat, you know. On that very same boat were a few groups. Some groups were non-religious, so, and Bnei Akiva had a big group there. I didn't know that. I didn't know exactly where we sleep, how I will. For me it was important to get on the boat. From where you can see the boat from outside, but at the entrance to the boat, were 2 or 3 people checking your papers, of course. If you have a permit to come to Israel, you had to have, you know. Otherwise, the British knew that there will be trouble making with those people. This I needed, and I needed a ticket to go to Israel.
And you never had it?
Never.
And you had no money?
So I came there a little earlier, and I was okay. You could go on the boat at that time. It was early enough. And I look around, and suddenly I met this guy who was from Bratislava. And he was with his wife. And he said to me as I started to walk, how are you going? I said, I'm going with the Bnei Akiva. How do you go with the Bnei Akiva? Had a group of 10 people about, permits to go to Israel. And I thought I can eat with them. Ha'ikar when I got, and I didn't know how to go back. At the entrance to the boat, there was a higher rank, checking everybody's papers, And I took an opportunity when he was busy with some other people who came, and I told him everything okay, and he let me pass.
But you went with, there was a group of school children that were going to...
Wait. He said, okay, and I take Menachem at the hand, but there was a guy there, and he wanted to see my passport and my cartridge. That's
Your ticket?
Yeah, my ticket. And this is so horrible, this is a real problem. How will I do it? I didn't know. But at one moment, suddenly, a group of youngsters came. They spoke French from a French school. It was summer, It was summer. They went on vacation to
to Corsica.
Huh?
To Corsica, they were going to Corsica.
To Corsica, you see.
That's so intriguing, and the story is unbelievable.
And you walk down to the boat, but at the entrance it went very slowly because I had to count. As many the matrich, how many people he said there and how many passports. I didn't know. I walk in among the children, and at some point he didn't count me. There were too many children, it was the end of the row, and he just counted, and I was in the boat.
Oh, you were holding Menachem as well?
Of course, Menachem in my hand, and when he came to the end of counting, there were 2 people too much. And he said, wait, hold it. There are 2 people too much. When I heard that, I said, oh, I'm coming. I thought there was a madrich. That one Menachem was to go to the vessel, I will be back in a minute. She said, okay, go. And I stayed there longer. While they counted, and she forgot about me. She said, maybe I came back, I wouldn't stay forever with a little boy in the toilet. And so when I came back, the teacher was there, and some parents. That was in the summer. The teachers are used to go in groups to summer camps. So there they went to summer camp. And when they came to me, they said I should be the last to wait, until he will see my passport or my something. But I knew I have no passport.
Sure. That's incredible.
So I made myself slowly, where they counted already. But when they came to me, I just couldn't go where to go. And I said, oh, I can't find my papers or something. Now, so many years, you want me to remember every Ha'ikar.
And you were on the boat, and then you saw the boat leave?
No, what was the godsend when I got on the boat. Okay, I got to take this wasn't so hard. When I got on the boat, And I look around. I wanted to see how the boat looks, how you go in, how you go out.
You've never been on such a boat before? Never?
Never seen such a big boat. And as I walked there, I see a guy with his wife. I didn't know his wife, but he was a young guy, about 20. And I walk over, no, I don't know, we saw each other. He was happy to see me, and I was happy to see him from my town. He used to come to my brother, I think. Okay, so he suddenly says to me, I said to him, we spoke about this which room we have, you know. I was eager to know, I didn't have anything, you know. So he told me that he is in a dormitory, and started to explain, and he says, and where are you? I told him, I have nothing. I don't know where I will sleep, I don't know where I will be. I just went into the boat, and so he said, I don't remember, but I know then he so told me that downstairs is a dormitory. He doesn't know if it's only for men or come also for women. He's going to see. But I had no choice. I was happy that I wasn't in.
But he gave you a number of the...
No, he just told me, go to the... There was one big room in the bottom for people, poor people, who wanted to travel and have much money. It was half the price than to have a yeah. So I said to him, okay, I will go to this dormitory, you know. And yeah, when I went down to the dormitory, this guy says to there was a group of religious boys, which I was very happy to see. And I asked them where they come, what organization? Bnei Akiva. Yes, I'm also from Bnei Akiva. Little by little, I knew one or two guys there, and I told them, no, Rega, this was when I was already in the boat. But first I had to go because the entrance to the boat were taken by two officials.
Yeah.
You know, check everybody's passport and ticket. I don't know how I got in there. At that moment, the big family came. No, I saw that there were a group of school children.
And you went in with the school children?
Yeah. So I went among the school children, you know, and they were counting, and somehow they counted me too in. Yeah. So I could go slowly with the school children and I'm in the boat. Without
And then you saw the boat leaving?
Wait, yeah. No, before it even left. By the beginning, you know, here were the teachers waiting, the children should be counted by somebody official from the boat, yeah? And suddenly and before he wanted to tell, listen, you counted 2 children too many. And when he just, somehow I thought that he wants to say it, maybe I heard him say it to somebody, you know. So I said, Menachem, come, I must go very urgently to the bathroom. And I took Menachem and I went to the bathroom. And at that time, they were counting the children. There were 2 children too many. And I started the teachers, you know, but there's too many, and they came to see. Maybe they didn't count, they counted again. 2 children too many. By the time this happened, I came out from the bathroom. No.
I think the boat had already left.
Right, I didn't go back to the children.
Yeah, the boat had already left.
I was out in the boat already.
And it already left.
Yeah. And I looked,
And the reds.
Where I asked where the bathroom is or something, you know. And I looked around, and suddenly somebody comes to me and he wanted to help me, you know, to find my group. And the teacher said, oh no, she doesn't belong to us, you know.
But you managed to find food on the boat and people helped you?
People helped me, yeah. There was a group of youngsters, you know, and they were sent into, there was one downstairs, there was one big room, and there were about 20 youngsters, only boys. You know, then I heard first time that this is a group from a religious organization, I don't think they were religious, but from a Jewish organization who took also there, whoever wanted to go to Israel. So I stick to him, you know, but when this happened, the teachers came, no, there are 2 children too many, that's impossible. So the one, I don't know, said, oh, she's there, or something happened, but I realized they're talking about me, and I disappeared.
Wow.
Suddenly, I disappeared among other people, you know, who came in.
And then, Shoshana, when they told you, I think it was 7 days, the trip, when you eventually saw Haifa, what was your impression when you saw the land of Israel?
They said, whoever wants to see Haifa from far away, because they explained Haifa is the city under the mountain. You can see all Haifa from far away from the boat. It's even beautiful, you know. Sure enough, next morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, everybody got up. Me too. I have to see Haifa, right?
Sure.
So we saw Haifa, and I told Menachem, I kept telling Menachem about my brother Eliezer is in Haifa, and it is Eretz Israel, where Abraham lived, all the stories, and I had to take it out somehow, I guess, from my inside. And people, but it took some time, you know, because I think we had one station
They went via Corsica and then it went to Alexandria.
Yeah. There was an Arab already, an Arab city, an Arab, territory where everybody needed a passport to get off, you know. Some people went to see the city. It was one of the very famous Egyptian.
Alexandria.
Hmm?
Alexandria. Yeah.
Haikar, we came to Haifa. People are getting off. There were not too many people left already, because some people, every station where we were, some people.
Disembarking.
Yeah. Anyway, people getting off. The boat is getting empty. And I'm here, I can get off. I saw from far away, I looked, you know, that every person is checked for your papers, you know, any papers. No. Before I told you I went to the bathroom. I was, like, I think, very nervous. And I went to look, I wanted to look where this room is. Because when I met this guy, before we went on the boat already, before we went on the boat.
I think he gave you the cabin number.
Yeah. And we were talking, you know, I said, what is your cabin? That's why, you know, he shouldn't feel that, you know. And he told me the number was a scary number. And he also asked me, but I see, suddenly I went over to a different subject, you know. Okay, and they announced, get ready, and they came, the teachers, to set up the group, and there should be a group with tools, you know, to go on the boat. No, we were on the boat already, but the boat was still standing. Not everybody went on it, you know. So
I think you went straight into the cabin.
Suddenly I said to Menachem, "Come, Menachem, I have to go to see something." And I wanted to go to see where this cabin is from this guy, in order to disappear. And sure enough, it was a God, I was so happy right away, I found the cabin with this number that I was, and I opened the door. Sure, it's open. Nobody was still there.
And that's what you could
I was so very happy. And I look around, which 2 beds shall I take off? In 1 bed for us, So I took this one. Menachem was already very tired. And I said, Menachem, come lay down here under this 1 bed. And I was sitting next to him before he fell asleep. And I was sitting there and singing, "Dear God, thank you so much for helping me to be on the boat." I never thought, I never wanted to think about that moment because it was such a big thing, Not only did I go to Eretz Israel, but I don't have a ticket, I don't have money, and I have Menachem here. I was worried, but I said, I prayed a lot, and in my heart, and I prayed and prayed. And I feel the boat is moving. They just started the boat earlier, that it should be ready, to leave, and everybody will be on the boat. And I feel the shaking deck. And I was so happy, and I don't know. And Menachem fell asleep. And I, of course, couldn't sleep. I didn't want to sleep. But I said to myself, God, if they come to ask for the papers, but I didn't want to think about it even. And nobody came to ask for the paper. And I saw that they're bringing, and I said, no, I must found. I didn't know what I want. I never saw a dormitory in my life. I never saw there is a dormitory on every boat, After Menachem slept a few minutes, I dressed him, he was dressed, and I go out. How was it? I was no, it was still on the boat. The boat, I felt suddenly started to shake, started to get life. Oh God, we are moving. And I look, at the cabin. There was room for 6 people. And I didn't know which room, nothing was mine, but which shall I say is mine? And I put Menachem to lay down, he fell asleep. And there I see on top, there's a whole little hole, and I look out, and suddenly I felt the boat is not steady anymore. And I think this was a moment I will never forget. I think somebody took my hand and was walking me to this room, And I looked around, I said, oh, this room will be good for Menachem and me. They are double beds. I don't need, 1 bed is enough for me, And
Shoshana, how old were you at this time?
I'm easy to make 40.
46.
Right after, so for 46 or 45 or 46. I can look it up.
You're a teenager.
I was 17 years about.
It's great, amazing for a 17-year-old.
Sometimes you decide to do something and you do it. Whether it's even,
But it was one miracle now when you got to Haifa and you saw the officials and everybody said, this is another incredible miracle what happened. they wanted to see your papers, and you told them you don't have papers.
That's
And
right.
you remember the French officer? He said to you, he wanted to know who helped you on the boat.
Yeah, because I was waiting for all the people to go down, you know. And on the boat were mainly British who checked everybody's paper, because the Jews tried to come in illegal, you know.
The British.
And they are checking very carefully every person's passport. And when I saw that, you know, almost finished, now it's my turn. And
He told him you don't have any papers.
yeah, I had no choice. I was the very left, you know. The youngsters left, and then there were no children anymore. Just a few families, people, not even families. At that time, families didn't go yet to Israel. Couples went, you know.
Were the British very angry with you?
Yeah. I came to that with a British officer. He was that tall, but he made it up, you know. He was such an angry man, you know. I came to him and I saw that it's finished, you know. He wants to go.
Yeah.
He finished his job. And I said to him, sir, I don't have passport to show you. I knew a few words English, you know, and I prepared them carefully. He just looked at me. He doesn't believe what he hears, you know. You come on a boat and you have no ticket, no passport. So he got very mad. He said, okay, stay here. I'm going to call the captain of the boat. And he did, he went, and I was standing there waiting. The captain, I don't know what I was. I had no choice. I mean, I can't run away from a boat. And the captain comes, looks at me, and he said to me, tell me, first thing was, who helped you to come to the boat? This was the most important thing. If there are people, or maybe from the crew, somebody for money helps you to get on the, which happened, you know. We heard later stories like that. I said, nobody helped me. First of all, I said, what language do you speak? I said, German and Czech, little Hungarian. This was no good for him. English, you understand? So I said, yes. So he spoke in English.
Sure.
And he said, who helped you to get on the boat? I said, nobody helped me. I wanted to go to Israel and I have no money. So I went on the boat, you know. But I thought it wasn't so funny for him, you know. He got it very angry, you know. And people started from the crew, you know, coming together to see what is he screaming so much. Here a good looking woman. I was a girl, I was 17 years old. So he called the German, the English, you know, the British. There was one guy who was that tall, but he was the head, you know, of all the papers.
But he said to you, you must be honest with me, and if you're on French soil, and if you're honest with me, you must be honest with me, and if you're honest with me, then
you must be honest with me, you know.
And you were honest.
I was, you know. He said, who helped you? I said, nobody helped me. I want to go to Israel. I was in the camps. I thought this would make an impression, you know. I was in the camps, and now I want to go to Israel. And he right away called somebody from the boat, you know. Somebody with a...
Like an officer?
Yeah. And he told him this young girl, or whatever he called me, has no papers. So So he turned to me, asked me what language I speak. And I told him German. And so German, I don't know, it was he, or he had somebody in the German language, you know. I think that he called somebody, and he told me, our captain wants to know, how did you get on the boat without papers? I said, I was in the concentration camps. I have no home, I don't know where to go. So I heard that boat is going to Israel. So I entered the boat.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a stupid idiot, you know. So he turned to the captain, because the captain wanted to know who dares coming on the boat without papers. And then he told him to ask me a few questions, and I told him, I made myself that I didn't know you need etiquette, you know.
But then he told the British that he's telling the truth.
Translated, yeah.
And
he was nice. He made everything in a law, you know.
But he told the British officer that she's telling the truth, and you have to allow him.
Yeah.
And
he was asking, where the guy, I forget this I remember. I said, and he can't, if he thinks I said the truth or something.
Then
so when I told him,
I won't take you back.
That I was in the concentration camps and I don't have a home, I don't have where to go. I heard this boat is going to Israel, I will go with it.
And because you told the truth, he said, I'm not taking you back to France, and now the British must take you.
Right, this was the biggest thing, because he could just take me down and, you know.
Sure.
And he said, okay, leave her here. I was left there until the boat left.
And then the whole thing is that the British took you to Atlet, but they closed off the streets. They made a curfew because they were...
Right. I remember.
Do you remember going in the curfew in the...
Yeah, sure.
When they took on the convoy to...
I was the only person taken by an officer, a soldier, with a full gear, gun, you know, and everything.
And you were...
And Menachem
one hand.
Sure. And we proudly go. First of all, it took us a long time until they have sent the boat a little, you know, to get up, because the boat at that time didn't reach to the...
They had to take a little boat on.
Right. And I come out of the boat, you know, this I also never forget. Outside, I know that the guide there, he had phoned somebody should come and pick me up. And I don't know what he told him. So the guide in the boat says, wait. So that much I understood. And sit down myself. But you know what I saw? The people, the sailors, the people who worked on the boat. And we're very happy you know.
Yeah, well done, sure.
Yeah. Finally, they say, come. They took me out because at that time the boat didn't come to the mamash about 10 meters, you know. They had to take me on a soul from the army, a boat to the... And then, okay, so we go. I give Menachem a hand. No, but not before that. I went to look at the dormitory, how the dormitory looks, you know.
I know, but when you get to Israel, what was your first impression when you saw Haifa, when you actually went onto the land?
I tell you,
the very first time you stepped on the land.
I lived like in a dream. I didn't exactly know what I am doing. It was my only chance to get to Israel. I knew that my mother can never give me money to go to Israel.
And when you first put your foot on the ground, it must have been a very special feeling.
It wasn't, I tell you why. Because, okay, they take me out. The boat had a bit, that much, I think. Between the boat, here was a boat, and here was Haifa.
Yeah.
So they took me out of the boat. They brought from the army a boat. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes they have prisoners on the boat, you know. And he walked so fast, but then he slowed down. I gave Menachem in one hand, and he takes me out of the boat. I was very happy, but my heart, you know, I was still very afraid. I was a young girl, you know.
And you didn't know what to expect.
It was very difficult.
And Shoshana, do you remember the convoy when they took you to Atlit?
Wait, not yet. First I was standing and waiting for this British guy to send back somebody to take me out of the boat,
Okay.
you know. So I looked at people and people looked at me and they saw, and the people who worked on the boat, you know, they kept on telling everybody, this girl, she came on a boat, she has no paper. But I wasn't ashamed. And when he asked me, how come you come on the boat? I say, I tell you, I was in a concentration camp, you know. That changed his face already.
And I think the British were very worried that it would be in the papers that a concentration camp survivor from the camps, look how badly treated they are.
It wasn't them who put it in the papers, the Jews.
I know, but the British were worried that you were going to become, it's going to make them look bad, what they were doing.
So
and,
I could see when the people who went up and down there, they looked at me and they didn't, but they were very friendly. Their face got very friendly, you know, like saying, don't be afraid, you're a hero, don't be afraid,
You're a hero.
you know. And they took a long time because they had to phone call. This company to take me from the boat to Brayer.
And do you remember the journey to Atlit?
I remember.
The journey going to Atlit?
Every step.
I think they closed off all the shops and
this was...
they made a curfew.
Yeah. Because every time they were afraid that the AXL, you know, they would make problems. They wanted people to come, you know, even people who don't have the money.
Illegal, sure.
And they wanted to make me feel they couldn't talk to me, you know. But they could show me a very happy face, and that's what kept me going, you know. Every step I made, oh my God, you know. I didn't
you were a hero.
Didn't know where.
You are a hero.
And he only soldiers, and I don't have who to talk to anybody. Nobody even wanted to talk to me, you know. And but when I come out of the boat, I just couldn't believe. There were 3 big buses, huge buses. And one was full of soldiers to watch of the little girl, you know, came. The other was a truck who took me to Atlit, to the camp, you know. And another boat, I don't remember.
And when you got to Atlit, how was...
In Atlit was a different, was in Atlit, a few months before I arrived to Atlit, some AXL people, you know, they, in the middle of the night, they cut the gate and went in and released all the people who were there illegal, you know, came, you know. So since then, every time they had to open, somebody arrived, had to open the gate, you know. They called, so many and so many people came, and here's a young girl, about 15, 16 years old, with a little nephew, you know, of 4 years old. Only them they should let in, not God forbid somebody else, you know. And I said, look, all those soldiers there, maybe 4, they had full truck of soldiers, you know, looking at me, unbelieving, you know, that here I am, come up 14, 15 years old.
And your nephew.
And they know.
That's because you were such a hero, Shoshana.
And they looked at me, you know, and they would talk about it. I don't know exactly what they said, but it was, most of them were very, I can look at their faces, they were not angry, you know. The chief of their boat,
the main officer.
Yeah, he was very fuming because it took him away from his work there, you know.
And Shoshana, how was the reception with the Yidden, the Jews that were in Atlit when they saw you coming in? They must have been so happy to see you.
Yeah. So finally I finished with him, and he gave orders to get me to the dormitory, you know. Yeah. So I come to the dormitory, and now with a happy face. And I said, my Chevre, Shalom, I told him, I want to tell you that I came to Israel because I want to be in Israel. I was in the camps, I told him. But now I want to live my life in there. I saved Menachem from the camps, you know. Wow. And everybody was slapping us, you know. Menachem first was afraid, but then, you know. And I told them shortly my story. I don't have money to go to Israel for a ticket, you know, but I wanted to go to be in Israel. I don't want to be among the Goyim anymore, you know.
And Shoshana, the people in the athletes, they must have regarded you as a very big hero.
Yeah, but yes. So what happened was that one of the friends of mine who came, you know, earlier, they saw that this was the latest, very short before that my story happened. Some Etzel went in the night, you know, cut the gather, you know, and came in and released the people. And the British were very angry, and they made sure this shouldn't happen again. There were barbed wires everywhere. It was impossible to get in.
How long did people were very happy to see you?
But listen, what people?
The Yidden that were the...
There was no Juden. There was not...
Who was in Atlit at that time?
Yeah, this was in Atlit. But I didn't know how happy that... No, they were very happy. They were fighting for each person that can get out from the ship, you know, to help him.
And the British had now put barbed wire around...
Yeah. So I told you, all the people left already. They took them to check they took them to the camp. There was a camp, you know, for all the illegal people who came. They took them there. When they finished, they started also. So the captain came and he said, okay. He said, okay. First I said he was very angry because it took him a lot of work, you know, to get me there. He didn't know to let me off or get me not or let on the boat. He was very angry, and he said they should watch me careful because I already one time, you know, did it and disappeared somehow. And it took some while. because the captain decided he's not going to take me back, you know.
Yeah.
But he's going to leave me here in Athlete. But he has to bring me to Athlete. He can just let me off, you know, on the streets. So I had to wait there. And and they brought me some fruit, you know, because I don't remember, he asked me. But then, when I got out, then I just couldn't believe 3 huge trucks standing outside. 1 truck full of soldiers, 1 truck guards, you know, all with full gear, and 1 more, all waiting for this girl to come out from the boat.
With her little nephew.
Boy, you know. So then they took me out and they brought me with a truck to Athlete. Only me and Menachem. Yeah, this I will never forget.
And you remember going inside the tent?
So then I told you, the guard got an order by phone to open the gate, but let in only about this 15, 16-year-old girl and a little boy of 4 years. That was his order, and not anybody else to let into the Athlete. So here, it happened so one of my girlfriends, she passed the entrance of the Machane, and she saw that the God is working hard to open up, and you know, and because it was very well closed up, everything there, you know. And she says to him, "Oh, there are new Jews coming in.
Yeah.
Did you catch another boat with Jews to come in?" And the soldier, you know, he really felt sorry, maybe, you know, but he said, "No, not so many people. I have to let in only a girl with a little boy of 5 years old." She later on, when she heard that, she thought, me could be, who can be, you know, a young girl, you know, 16 years old, and a little boy of 4 years old. She ran to the machne, to the barracks, you know, Shoshana came.
Wow.
You know, they ran to the kitchen, took out all the pots and pans, you know.
Wow.
And they come to the boats. You could get deaf, you know, from so much. Shoshana. Oh, and
What
the
a lovely
soldier,
welcome.
I remember I looked at the soldier, he thought he's getting crazy. She's probably, you know, goes up and after the rules of the...
Like illegal.
Yeah. And here they are thinking her. Shoshana is her name, you know. I told him before that. Shoshana. Imagine that 100 people were there.
Gee.
And Menachem first, and the members started to cry. I picked him up. I said, "Menachem, those are our friends. You forgot them already. Hine Yolika, Hine Irza." They came, you know, and they took it. First, he was afraid, but then he couldn't believe it. That I belong to this whole crowd there, you know.
Wonderful, sure. Wow. And Shoshana, when did you first see Eliezer, your brother?
He heard on the radio. He worked at a place, and he told the boss there that when this boat is coming in, there were all years when there came a boat, or even illegal, you know, the British had to tell it on the radio, so the people should know. Once it was even more, they gave you a whole day or a whole night, you know, if you came to pick up somebody, relatives of you. But then they got too angry when too many Jews came on illegally, you know, so they didn't let. And my brother My brother, when he came to work, if he would have known, he'd always apologize, that he didn't come to the boat to pick me up. Because he didn't know. Yeah, what happened? It happened that somebody disappeared, from the boat. They were very angry, so they said they are not going to announce on the radio when the next boat will be, Yeah. But when my brother, he told me he came to the work, the first thing the people told him, did you hear the news? And a boat came with Jews from France. My brother said, wow. He ran to his boat and said that my sister is somewhere on that boat, And, but of course he couldn't help me. They wouldn't let him in, they wouldn't let him see me. And and I had to wait maybe 2 hours. I remember it took a very long time. I had to sit there, but I saw that people worked on the boat, when they passed, for something, for cleaning or something. They would almost, smile to me or say, good,
But Shoshana, when did you first see Eliezer? Was it a few months later?
No, the same day.
He managed to come to Atlet?
Yeah, sure.
And how was the reaction seeing your brother after all these years?
I'm telling you, and not only all these years, the war, and he to see, because he
you were the
for
first?
a long time he didn't know who was saved,
You told him about, he know what had happened to the family, or?
No, but he knew that nobody, we wrote to him, I think. I don't remember.
But yeah, he's seeing his sister and his nephew for the first time.
Yeah.
After all these years.
Right. And Menachem, he never knew even that he exists.
It must have been extremely emotional.
Yeah, I met.
Wow, this must be etched in your memory. These are scenes that one dreams of. He must have been so happy to see you, and
very, very, very happy.
So I just want to mention and I want to ask you, when did your mother and your brothers and sisters that came to Eretz Israel as well?
About much later, a year later, when it was.
Not so much with the illegal.
It was they made that many people can come every month.
They made a concession, the British.
Yeah.
And then they came there.
So I was already considered in those that came already to Israel.
Wow. And your whole family came to Israel?
Yeah, not at once.
But they eventually came.
Yeah.
And Shoshana, I just want to show, this is a picture of, if you could mention, with Simcha and Rosie.
Simcha and Ossi. This is Simcha. This is Ossi.
We're going to just. So Simcha is. Which one is Simcha? Is Simcha.
The right.
This is Simcha.
Simcha. No, I don't see well. No, this is Simcha.
Simcha's in the middle.
Yeah. This is Ossi. Simcha was older than me, I think 1 year. He was younger a few years.
And this was after the war? Was this straight after the war? This is before you came to Israel?
This was before I came to Israel.
Wow,
sure.
This is before you, and you can see you were a young girl, and this is, you're near the house that you lived after the war. And and in 92, in 92, you went to your father's grave in Bratislava. If you could show, this must be.
I told you already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can we show the picture? So you were, in a way, you were happy that your father. That
at least he
has a grave.
Yeah.
There's so many, like your sister and Freddie, Frida and Golda.
You're right. You know them already.
But this is in Bratislava.
In Bratislava.
And that was in 92. Can I just show again? Can I ask you, Shoshana, when you went back to Bratislava, was it very difficult going back?
No, because I was very happy I'm in Israel.
So to go back,
I was settled already. I was in a kibbutz.
It wasn't a very, in 92.
Okay, but
it must have been very emotional.
Was already quiet, you know.
So this is the Beit Kfarim, this is the cemetery in Bratislava where your father's buried.
Yeah, this is the grave of my father.
And this is, Shoshana, if we can show, this is a picture of when you went to Theresen. Who went with you to Theresen?
My family, but nothing, my mother didn't come. No, my mother is not here. This is my sister-in-law and her son, my Simcha's son. This is me.
You in the middle?
Yeah.
You're going to show
my sister's daughter.
So this is just
family,
a picture.
Close family.
And how was it when you went back to Theresen? Was it? Did all the memories come flooding back? Was it difficult to?
Well, you were happy you were there. It's past, you know.
Yeah. I think you mentioned in the book a beautiful story there when you went back to Sered, and they didn't want to let you in, and you said that you were once here, and then they did let you in, and then you saw the laundry, where the laundry was. And the officers, they wanted you to tell the story, and they were listening to you telling the story.
Oh, wow.
No, because it's...
I almost forgot it.
It's amazing.
Right.
Shoshana, it's really something unbelievable.
Right.
And I think he must be one of the luckiest people.
You know,
This is Menachem, and I want to just mention what you did for Menachem. Very, very few people would do what you did. That you took the responsibility, a young girl of 15, to take your nephew and to bring him to Eretz Israel.
He's really happy.
And you know what?
See me.
This is a picture when you went to see him on his birthday. I think it was his birthday when you came to see him. In this picture.
Yeah, right.
And look how he's smiling. And because he's got such the most amazing... Shoshana, you know what? You really are. You know, you write in your book, and it's the most beautiful design, where you have the barbed wire from the camps, and you have the ship.
Yeah, now let me tell you something. You finished with one thing, right? He came to Israel, but one thing doesn't let me be quiet. I want to write not a book, but make a movie. Show a little bit how the people came back from the camps. There's nothing like this. How we family, you know, one was here, one was there, but how happy when we got united again, you know. Yeah. And you find Menachem, who of course lost his mother. You didn't have much to tell him, you know.
And his brother as well.
And so many moments, and I feel I don't think there is a movie, there is even a book that describes in the right way that you can feel it, what it means, you know, after the camps, after all you went through, and here you come to Israel, but they won't let you in. They opened their camp, the concentration. It wasn't enough the camps that we had with the Germans.
And now you were surrounded by barbed wire and they sent to Cyprus. They put people in camps in Cyprus, the British. But you know, Shoshana...
I would like to find somebody...
But Shoshana, I just want to mention something to you. You mentioned that a movie, but the truth is, your book, really your book and your story that you have related now, It is profound. It is no movie or no book, well, no movie can compare
and never
to
will
you.
be, never will be. A whole nation. This was a period of years, really, the concentration camps that the Jews were sent to the concentration. I'm not even sure that the whole world even knows about it.
But Shoshana, you relating it on the video, your story, what you related today and in the past times where I've been here, it is more precious and more significant than any movie, because this is real. This is so real. And your story, and I would really recommend that anybody who can get this book, it is one of the most special books that I've ever read about the Shoah, because it's coming from your story, from your heart, about your family, and it's in memory of your sister, two sisters, and your brother, who unfortunately aren't here today, and they were killed. Right. And this is may their memories be for eternal blessing. And what you've done, Shoshana, in writing this book and in relating the story, their memories are alive, and they are watching from above, and they are very proud, and everybody's very proud, because Shoshana, you are, and I must really say this, you are a hero. What you did and what you achieved, you are somebody we can all, Shoshana, really, we can all strive to emulate. You are such a hero, and you are such a special person.
And I think that if I wouldn't write the book, a lot of people wouldn't know about the Shoah.
I know. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Shoshana. You have been incredible. We sat here you've been just amazing. Every minute when you spoke, when you related, and it wasn't easy to relate your story and your life and to relive it again. But Shoshana, please God, Bezrat Hashem, the memory of your family will always live on, and may their memories be for eternal blessing. And you have done such a wonderful chesed for your family, and what you did for your nephew. Very few people, I don't know anybody would have done what you've done. You were that little girl, that hero, how you did everything in Bratislava to try and get money to save him, and what you went through, and how you are an amazing person. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I just want to wish you, Shoshana, Mazel Bracha, Admei Vesrim, in only good health and happiness, and thank you so much.
That's not enough for me. I need more help. I need somebody help me to make a movie.
But Shoshana, what you've said is more than a movie.
But I don't reach the whole Europe and all the whole world.
Shoshana,
and I want it, not because I wrote it, because I want the whole world to know it.
Well, the whole world will be, Bezrat Hashem will see this book and will see this video, and that they will see the journey you put here, the childhood loss and your journey with the ship. Your life story is one of the most incredible journeys that anybody could ever have had.
Man, this book.
But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Shoshana.
Thank you.
And really, you should just have Mazel Bracha, and you should just have all of Hashem's blessings.
Thank you.